Welcome to Known Through Connection, where presence is greater than performance, and every conversation is an invitation to truly see one another. This is episode 5, and today I'm joined by Alexis Maust. On her birthday, Alexis and her family lost their home to a fire. What followed was a season marked by faith, resilience, and the love of a community that showed up in powerful ways. In our conversation, Alexis shares her experience with honesty and grace. It's a story worth sitting with, and one that invites reflection on what we hold on to when everything else is gone. Let's step into the conversation. Hi, Alexis. Thank you for joining us on Known Through Connection. Alexis Maust is our guest today, and we're excited to be able to have Alexis to be able to share. Alexis, what a year you've had. You and your family have had quite the year and the things that you've had to go through and deal with. And thank you for being on Known Through Connection to be willing to share some of that story, some of the impact to you individually, to you personally, to your family. And then also I want to get into it as we progress, but just really the impact the community has had on you. And I will tell you, you've had an impact on the community. And so thank you for taking this time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Alexis, let's just kind of jump into it. So my understanding, kind of doing the research and looking back at timelines, your birthday was May 1st, is that correct?
Yep.
And 2 days prior, is that right? two
Yeah.
days prior, you had some pretty eventful things happen. Would you be willing to kind of step us through, I think it's April 29th, and just kind of play out for us how you experienced those events? What actually, for those who aren't aware of your story, what what happened on that day?
Yeah. Um, well, my kids were home alone after school, I think around 4 o'clock. Ellie, 4:15, something like that. Ellie heard some banging. They were both in the basement. She heard banging. She thought the dog was like doing something wrong, and she came upstairs and she said she saw like it looked like someone was dancing or something weird was happening outside the window. And it took her a second, but she realized that there was a fire outside the window. And so she ran and got Max, who grabbed the dog, and they got out of the house, went to the neighbors right away, and they called the police. But our mulch had spontaneously combusted. That's what
Wow.
the fire chief said. And so the fire started on the outside of the house. Luckily, the the fire alarms, nothing had even went off yet because it wasn't in the house until they opened the front door, and then the windows blew and it came into the house. It went straight up to the roof, which then essentially like torched the whole place. Matt was close to home. He was on his way home from work. And so it probably took him 10 or 15 minutes. And then I was about 25 minutes away. Driving home I could see the fire from
Hmm.
180th and Dodge. We live on 156th, or 160th and between State and Ida. Anyway, so I got home. When I got home, our house was on fire, and the fire departments were there, working really hard, and the neighbors were all taking care of my children. Um, there was a lot of people around. It was shocking. I think my son was in my neighbor's house. He didn't want to be outside. And yeah, my daughter was there, but uh, they did really good. They're my heroes. They couldn't have done a better job. And actually, we found out that our neighbors saw it. Some kids saw it, and started yelling, "There's a fire." And
Hmm.
a couple neighbors came over and were actually trying to put it out. And then they saw the windows starting to crack. And so they got out of there, thank God. Um, and the windows blew, I guess, as they were running away from the house. So the whole community was like a little bit involved. The way our neighbors showed up was um, the first time we felt super supported. Like it just, people care.
I know you and I have talked previously to this recording, but I'm so sorry that this happened to you and your family. I know that the story is not done and there's more to this story, but I'm really sorry. Obviously, still fresh. Um, and can you uh, when you were driving home, do you remember what you were thinking and feeling on the way home? Do you remember anything about that moment?
You know, as soon as I got the call, my husband was pretty frantic and right. As soon as I knew my family was okay, the kids were okay, like it was just something that was happening. Um, I driving home took forever, it felt like.
Hmm.
Uh, but for me, I like sometimes this feels like it's been easier for me is because as long as my family is okay, then I'm fine.
Hmm.
And they haven't always been okay through this process, but it's been an opportunity for me to get to show up for them. And that's all I cared about. I think that for Matt, the home, like he put a lot of work into that home,
Hmm.
and it's really important for him to know that we're safe. Like he is very focused on that, which is good because I'm not. And I think so that safety and security being threatened in that way um, was and has been really hard. And then for the kids, Max was really strong until he could tell everybody started to feel better. Then he started to be more open with how he was feeling. Uh,
He was being
but
strong. He was trying to be strong for everybody.
yeah, he just didn't. I don't think he wanted to add to the
Yeah.
the mess. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as long as my family was okay, I was fine. Uh, and for them, I mean, especially the kids, like it was so scary. It's
Mm-hmm.
still scary for them.
Because they saw the
Uh,
whole thing. They experienced the whole
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And they said like just to watch it burn and not be able to do anything. And I'm sure there was a part of them that I don't know thought they might get in trouble, like because they were the only ones home or
Mm,
something. Like, did they do something wrong? Which they didn't at all.
mm,
Um, Nobody did, even if someone had, it doesn't matter. But for me, it's been an opportunity to show up. The most interesting thing, or there's lots of interesting pieces of this. God's been so involved in the whole process. But earlier, like maybe January, December, I had this strong desire to be home with the kids.
mm,
I've never really had that. Like, I love my family. I love being a mom, but being at work is a great balance for me. I think I can show up well as a mom because I have other places I show up that balance things out. And all of a sudden, I just had this desire to be with my kids more and to really like take care of my family. And I thought, this sounds probably bad. I thought that's weird. Like, I just was really curious about it. I mean, honestly, the feeling was that I didn't want to be focused on work
mm,
anymore.
mm,
Um, and I work full time and I have my own business, and it just felt different. And I was really curious about that. And when this happened, I was like, I'm supposed to be with my family.
mm.
I don't know. I feel like maybe God knew I've always been so focused on work that he knew he needed to like make it obvious to me that this was my chance to take care of them. And honestly, taking care of them is very healing for me in a lot of ways too.
Hmm. I think that's really powerful. You sensed something changing on the inside, and it has turned into a process that's been, like you just said, healing for you to take care of your family during this, especially during this time. And your heart and your mind has just kind of been rewired and refocused, it sounds like a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. My journey's been a long, interesting, winding, healing road. And this all happened. in perfect timing. It sounds crazy, but it did. There's so much of that story, but I feel like through my healing journey, the big rocks, like I've moved all of them. And prior to this happening, about 30 days ish before it happened, not quite 30 days, me and God had a big long talk. And
Hmm.
um I I've always been I've been working on surrendering for years, but in our talk, I felt this need to really fully surrender at a whole new level that I hadn't surrendered before. Um, and for me, what that looked like was, and what I felt like God wanted was me to say exactly what I want, tell him what I need, what I desire, and then let it go. Like, stop trying to make things happen on my
Hmm.
own
Hmm.
and see what God could do. And I did. I was very specific about what I wanted, which included the desire to be home with my kids more, to take care of my family, to be focused, really to just to get my life in alignment with what was most important to me, which is God and me and my family, my business, and my community. Um, and then less than 30 days later, my home burns down.
Hmm.
And it sounds weird, but I committed to 60 days. I need a timeline or else I can't. I knew I would just fall into my old patterns. And it was like, okay, for 60 days, I'm just going to let go and let God.
Hmm.
And then my home burned down. And Matt's very part of this conversation. We both knew we have no idea what God's doing right now, but we knew that this was God's work. And it's interesting to say because my kids don't get that. I mean,
Mhm.
we've talked about it. I think they kind of get it, but it's hard for them to see the good in this part of our lives. But the whole time, Matt and I have known that there's something happening. And then the way that, so about a week before the fire happened, God and I are having a talk, and it was about receiving love. And I'm sure I can't remember how the conversation went, but it was probably about my business and like doing the work I absolutely love doing and receiving money for it, receiving clients for it, whatever that might look like. But he showed me like anything you receive is love. It's all love,
Hmm.
money, people, whatever we're blessed with. Like
Hmm.
if you perceive it in a certain way, it's love. And then the fire happened and all of this love and the way people
Hmm.
surrounded us and showed up for us. Honestly, if it wasn't for that conversation a week prior to it happening, I wouldn't have
Hmm.
been willing to accept. I would have just, Matt and I are strong, our family's strong. Like we would have tried to figure it all out on our own. Um, I probably think about that on a daily basis now.
Hmm.
Yesterday, I was at the lake and I asked a lady if I could help her with her kayak. And she said no. And I thought, oh, that's too bad. She could have received my love. And it's just like, it's always on my mind now. Um, and I guess full story, I don't know why I'm rambling on about this, but
That's good. Yeah.
uh, full circle,
Mhm.
I think I've always questioned. I think a lot of us do. I've always questioned if I was really loved deeply. I've questioned that. And in this full surrender, God shows up. And even though he burned, I mean, he did burn I don't know, maybe he did. I don't, it depends on how you look at it, but our house burns down and we just feel flooded with this love that I've questioned my whole life. And so much so that I was like, oh my gosh, and I know I'm even more loved than this.
Hmm.
Like, I hope I never spend another second
Hmm.
ever questioning that again. What a waste.
I think that's so powerful because there would be some who say, perhaps in their own minds, if my house burned down, that would be a horrible thing. I would be mad. I would be hurt. And obviously, Alexis, I don't want to ignore where you're at. There is hurt. There is pain. There are tears. And yet you're saying there's something more there. There's something that you're holding on to. You're holding on to a goodness and a belief that there's goodness, even though this has been very hard and traumatic on your family. Is that fair to say that?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's it's just stuff like our family was okay. And honestly, the kids were home alone. Like that quickly puts things into
Mm,
perspective
mm,
because if something would have happened to them, I mean,
uh-huh,
I can't even. And and even our home, like the fact that the fire didn't come inside the home until the kids were out of the house. I told them, I'm like, you know, the house did protect us because we talked a lot.
huh,
Anytime the kids would ask, well, is a tornado going to come or whatever? I'd always say, no, we're protected. We don't have to worry about things like that. The angels are around us. We're always protected. We're always taken care of. And then this happens and they're like, you said we were protected. And I'm like, well, the fire
huh,
didn't come in. Like, we're
huh,
okay. This stinks. We're displaced. We are, you know, having this conversation in a tiny little hotel room. And, but we are protected. And I I think that day by day the kids are starting to believe that at some point we're going to look back at this. It's going to be a blip on the radar and we're but it's also going to be this pivotal point where each of us grew in our relationship with God,
uh-huh,
in our faith, in our trust, and understanding how loved we are. Like these are all really important things, you know?
uh-huh.
Ugh.
2025 will have a mark on all of your lives from here on out.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
I definitely.
you know, I want to focus on your story, but I'll also say, you know, 2025 has been an impactful year for me as well. And you and I both live in Omaha, Nebraska, and you have um, probably more connections than I do. And
Got that.
you we've had, my wife and I have had people that we've unexpectedly not thought that they were connected to you, aware of your story, and talking about um, your story. And when I say you, I mean, yes, you, Alexis, and your family, Matt, and your kids.
Kids.
Um, I will offer up, and I think you're already saying this in a way that this community is so kind and such a great community. I know I'm very grateful for it. I hear you saying the same. Where I want to go with this question is, eh, you know, when you went through, and we can spend more time going through the actual fire and what it felt like and you know, the thoughts you were processing, but I also want to talk about um, what did it feel like when you started, when the community began to rally around you? What did it look like? What did it feel like when you started, in your words, to receive that love from the community? What was that like?
Um, gosh, I mean, it's still happening. Literally this morning, my book club sent me a gift card to Barnes and Noble, which
Huh.
one of the things I miss the most, it's the little things. It's my books. I love my books. Um, so what did that look like? I mean, from the second I showed up at home, the neighbors, like the fire Dustin Talco is a friend of mine, and he was one of the firemen that showed up. And he said of all the fires he's ever been to, he's never seen people show up like they did there.
Huh.
Um, and then just like constantly checking in on us. And really, like the Bennington community, my our work community, our church, um, the school. Oh my gosh, the school was so kind and uh, even not just the Pine Creek. school, the Bennington Foundation, like it just was coming from everywhere, and it hasn't stopped. It isn't as frequent, but I think if we said we needed something, we would get help from all over. And I think that again, I go back to that conversation with God, because I wouldn't have received the help.
Huh.
And just and me, Matt kept saying, Matt would go, I think that's too much. And I'd be like, I know, but we're meant to receive right now. Like
Huh.
this is love. Like, let's just let people take care of us. And we are the type of people that would love to take care of others. But I think a lot of people would resonate with the fact that it isn't easy to let other people, like, we want to
Uh,
be there for others. And
uh-huh.
something I've said for years, like in coaching and just in life, is the way to connect with people the best is to ask for help.
Huh.
It isn't to help. It's when you ask for help that you build those strongest connections. When you let somebody help you, like we feel so good and so needed when someone um,
Huh.
asks for our help, right?
Huh.
And we love it. You just feel like, gosh, they trust me. They trust me enough to ask for that help, because we all know how hard it is to ask for help
Uh-huh.
or receive help. And so to be in this spot where all of a sudden, like within such a small time period, I was like, okay, I'm going to be open to this. And then for it to just come pouring in the way that it did. Um, and I this week, somebody, friend offered to bring clothes for my daughter. Like, it's just been constant and a constant reminder. And I'm curious what God's doing,
Huh.
because there's a flow, there's something that opened up in me that is necessary for whatever's next.
Huh.
And on this journey, it started with me. Like, a big part of my journey has been opening my heart 100% to give love and receive love. I've always been willing to give. The receive has been a journey. And then here we are. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
It does. And I absolutely appreciate and understand what you're saying about how hard it is to ask others for help or to let others help you. Uh, this is something my wife and I've dialogued with over the years. Tell me if you agree or if you don't agree or if you see it differently, and maybe there's multiple perspectives which would be helpful to process. To be able to ask for help or receive help, you have to make yourself vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. It's
You
like the
have to.
most vulnerable you can
Mhm.
be. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to be vulnerable and say, I don't have all this. I have limits. I have capacity constraints. I don't have all the resources. I don't have all the capability. I don't have all the capacity. I can't do it all. Or it wouldn't be good and healthy for me to do it all. There's limits. Hey, would you help meet me in my limits? And it's possible some people wouldn't meet you, right? So that's a vulnerable place to put yourself. Yet, I love how you're describing that is a fantastic way to build connection. Obviously, certain contexts that can be taken out of context, and you can ask for help when you don't need it, and you need to be careful about that. But in most people, we need each other. We need teams at work. We need family. We need friends. We need community. We need fire departments. All these things, we need help because we do have limitations, and we're better connected, and it provides that connection. So I love how you describe that.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. As you were talking, what popped into my head were a couple things. One, knowing how supported we are. Like, I don't know if you're like this, but there's this constant question of, when you're in your community, maybe I'm at the school, walking around the neighborhood, at work, like, how much do these people care to talk to me? Like,
Uh,
there's a lot of like casual hellos, maybe a surface level conversation.
Mhm.
And through this experience, I I feel a deeper connection with everyone
Mm.
to the point where I don't know that I'll ever hold back anymore. Like
Mm.
after I'll overwhelm
Mm.
people, that's kind of my thing probably, but um I'm just going to do it because I think that people care. And then if you take that to an even more important level is asking God for help,
Mm.
because the real vulnerability is trusting that God will show up for you. And that's what happened here is I surrendered. This thing happened and then all this love flooded in. And in my experience with myself, with my friends, with coaching is people don't ask God for help.
Mm.
They will they will pray for other people all day long,
Mm.
but they will not pray for themselves. And I'm like, just ask for help. And it's interesting, but it's almost like asking people for help is just practice to figure out how to ask God for help.
Mm. What if somebody doesn't know what that looks like? They don't know how to do that. I'm leading you here in this, but um, if somebody's saying, I don't know how, or I don't know the right words to say. I don't know the right pattern to use when I talk to God that way. What would you say? What would you say to somebody who's feeling inhibited because they don't know the best way, and I'm using air quotes again,
Yeah.
for those on audio, how to do that?
I love that question. And I wish I've said this a lot. So if some people believe that um like angels can't help, God can't help unless you ask for help. And so I always say, like, do you believe that? Like, do angels do you have to ask for their help? Can they intervene without you? And a lot of times people say no, like I do think that I have to ask for their help, but I don't want to. Like there's bigger fish to fry essentially. Like there's
Hmm.
wars happening in the world.
Hmm.
There's people that are so much worse off. I don't want that energy spent on me. Well, imagine that everybody feels that way because a
Hmm.
lot of people feel that way. I'm like, there's just all these angels sitting around waiting. Like they're here. That is, if the, biblically, like they are here to serve us. That's what they do. That's what they want to do.
Hmm.
And if we do truly have to ask for their help, then they're just sitting around waiting for somebody to finally ask for help.
Hmm.
Like just do it and see what happens. And then it's a conversation with, this invisible entity, I guess. And so just try it and see what happens. I always just say ask and then be open. Be open to all of those things. I was just thinking about this yesterday, how easy it is for me to start to tell myself, like, as I was thinking about this conversation,
Hmm.
gosh, are people going to think I'm nuts thinking that God would show up for me in this way or that God showed up in this situation or somehow God, this is part of God's plan. And, but I know it is. It's
Hmm.
that for whatever reason, logically, I start to talk myself out of it. That voice just needs to go away. And instead, just be open to see my daughter. She, a long time ago, we were talking about she's missing my grandpa. And I go, well, ask for a sign. Ask for a sign that you'll know it's grandpa. And she said, okay, I want to see blue butterflies. And I honestly thought, oh gosh, that's pretty specific. I hope this works out. And we see blue butterflies all of the time now.
Wow.
And I could say, well, that's a coincidence. Now I'm just attuned to it. Or maybe it's not. Like, what if
Hmm.
it isn't? It is God. Like, just let yourself believe it. I don't know why we talk ourselves out of it. It's being vulnerable. It's trusting that we're being taken care of. And that's a scary place to be.
Why is that? Why is that a scary? It is. Why is that a scary
Because we
place to
yearn
be?
for it. It's what we want most
Huh.
is to be loved. And we want to be loved by our neighbors. We want to be loved by our family, our friends. But
Uh-huh.
really deep down, I believe that we want to be loved by God. We want that connection that's innate.
Huh.
I don't not understand it, but it's part of this journey. And if you're not, then what are you?
Huh.
And that's scary. But all that fear is, I mean, I just don't. I think it's all a lie. So in my coaching, God comes up a lot. We talk about God a lot. And a lot of times people are angry with God. I'm like,
Mm.
tell him,
Mm-hmm.
tell God you're angry. Like he knows already. Talk about it. It's okay. Like there's I don't know if there's anyone that goes through this life at some point not probably many points angry. Talk about it. And so I guess what I would say, some people sometimes I have a three things I tell people to do. Just journal. Just start writing whatever it is you want to say. You can talk about nothing, you can talk about something. That's a start. And the other thing is I love to pray and then set a timer. My friend Kelly taught me to do this, but set a timer for 10 minutes and pray, ask your question, and then just sit there. And the answer, it always shows up for me. Like I always know, I don't know the answer necessarily. I know the next step. I know what I need to do. And I just saw, I probably Instagram video or something, but it was a guy talking about the same idea that if you can sit still and listen, the answer always comes if you can within 30 minutes. I haven't practiced. I haven't had to wait that long, but in my experience, the answer does come. And the more I open myself up um, to the answer, the more it'll come. And so what else for me, my experience has been they're always coming. It's so much that we've like become, I don't know if numb to it, but I'll ask. So what I've learned is I'll ask for guidance. And I really just want to hear God say, blah, 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 this is the answer. Unfortunately, that's not how it happens. Instead, all of a sudden I might read something in a book and I'm like, that's what I was looking for. And I had this book before I even answered the question. Or a conversation with Jess and you'll say what it is you'll give me the answer. Like or for me, I've realized that sometimes when I'm daydreaming, like it is the answer. It's just it happens so frequently and so often that we've just dismiss it. But if you start to tune in, they're there and just let yourself believe it. Like why not? I could believe that my I'm I'm cursed and my home burnt down for something bad. I actually used to believe that bad things were happening to me because God was teaching me lesson. And that you were around, or we met about the time I realized that wasn't true, or at least I started to question it. I was reading a book after a ton of prayer. This was actually at the beginning of when I started to pray and ask for help about 10 years ago. And I, I really believed that everything that happened to me in my life, and there's been some challenging things. It was just God. I told myself as a kid, these things happen because they're making me a better person. That's how I like reasoned with it. And then life got really good. Like I had this beautiful family, and I just got really scared that what's going to happen. And I was reading a book. And all of a sudden it said something like, God only wants good things for you. God isn't a punishing God. God isn't here to teach you lessons. He only wants good things for you. And in that moment, I thought, what if I'm wrong? Like, what if that isn't true? And what if God does only want good things for me? And that's when everything started to change. I started to be open to what if he does want good things for me? What if he cares enough about me to send me that book? What if he wants wants a beautiful life for me? What if all of these gifts are meant for me and they're not going to be taken away? And I had a beautiful home. It got taken away. Like honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters. And I honestly, if I'm being honest, I think he's cleansing my life. He's preparing us for whatever's next for us.
I can relate to that. That's yeah, I can relate to that.
Did I
Um,
finally answer your question? I
you
feel like
did,
I'm
and it
really
was
rambling
no,
on.
it was very good. It was very good, and it is very helpful to be able to help kind of take that in and even apply it to. Um, I know for myself, things going on, and I'm sure there are others who are listening who can think about that and are applying it to their life. Um, I want to ask you, your story. We kind of went past it really quickly, but there's a reason I want to go back, and then I'll bring it back to where we're at right now. At the beginning, you said the fire started because the mulch spontaneously combusted.
Hmm.
I want to go back to that because just for a second, because that could be anybody. There are so many people with mulch. You didn't accidentally leave your like I remember one time when I was a kid, we went on vacation. We were headed out to Colorado, and I realized I left my teddy bear. We went back and got my teddy bear and found it on top of my nightlight, starting to burn a hole in it on top of the nightlight. Like the fur was burning away. If we hadn't gone back, it probably would have burned down, right? But that would have been like, oh, Jess left his teddy bear on the nightlight, right? I think what is striking to me about your story is that we talk about the mulch spontaneously combusting. That's anybody. That's anybody at any time. Um, so I guess I want to say that and then come back to kind of where we're at now. What do you want to say to somebody who hears this story and maybe it resonates with them? Wow, this could be me, right? How should they approach that? Should they be approaching life now from a state of fear? How do you think they should handle that?
Oh, it's a good question. That's a good question because I think that's something that the rest of my family really will struggle with.
Uh-huh.
First of all, I just have to say, I mess up a lot. And I thought as I'm driving home, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Like,
Huh.
what did I leave on? I'm sure, honestly, I'm sure everyone in my family probably thought it was my fault. Um,
Huh.
and I was relieved as soon as I found out it was the mulch. I just was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. I thought for sure I screwed something up. Um, but for my husband, who is Mr. Safety, this this is it's so interesting that this is how it happened. I'm probably lucky that it wasn't my fault because he probably would just follow me around everywhere. Um, and he couldn't prevent this. Like there's nothing he could do. And then for my kids, they're in such a like my 4-year-old brain decided that God's teaching me lessons, right? Like they're forming their opinions that'll take them into adulthood, whether they're true or not. Um, and as my husband and I have talked about this, I'm so I've been through a lot in my life. It's never directly impacted Matt or the kids.
Huh.
And it's so interesting to me that this very directly impacted them. I honestly think this is harder for the three of them than it is for me. Um, and I think Matt has an opportunity to lean on God more. I think that this is an opportunity for him to see that he can't control everything and that he needs the help of our higher power to keep us safe. Um, or even just trust and faith that everything is happening exactly the way it's meant to happen and that we were put together um, to to ride this journey together. And again, that this is happening for us. I can't tell you how many times we've talked about all the tribulations. Like this is happening for us is kind of our mantra. We also always say everything's turning up moss, and this shook that. Like we're like, no, this is not turning up moss, and we've had a lot of after the fire. There was one thing after another of things that have went wrong. Like cars broken down. We ended up in a ditch. I mean, the hotel we stayed in was just terrible. They didn't clean our room one time. Like, it's just one thing after another. And I don't know. I think it's all about building trust and faith and perceiving through the lens of love. It's something Gabby Bernstein says. And I think I say all the time, like, I'm going to perceive this through the lens of love. That's all there really is. This fear, I mean, it's got a life of its own, but I don't think it's even real.
I think that is very hard to do sometimes, but so powerful and healthy to be able to say, I'm going to look at this through the lens of love.
Mhm.
What is the love that's coming through in this? That's not easy. That's a simple but hard thing to do sometimes.
A lot of times that's my prayer. If you asked earlier, like, how do you start? A lot of times my prayer is just, God, please help me see this through the lens of love. And it's that the more I talk to God, the more I ask those questions, the more I see him show up. That's building my faith. And so for people that are like, oh my gosh, that could happen to me, anything could happen to us.
Hmm.
What if it's happening for us? What? I know there's all sorts of bad things that happen, but what if they're happening for us? I can tell you, we don't have time to go into it,
Hmm.
but everything, like, my life is so good and there's so much good in it. And my work, like, my family is amazing. My clients are amazing. Talking to you is amazing. Showing up this authentically is amazing.
Hmm.
And I couldn't be here. Like, it took all of those things to
Mhm.
help me get here. And as much as they sucked in the moment, it's okay. And now, honestly, because of those things, my house burned down and I can perceive it through the lens of love. Like, it's just, and I know I joke that my kids is this character building, but we go through hard things. I'm glad I can be here to support them
Huh.
while we're going through this hard thing. They can choose to see that they lost their home and, all the other stuff that came along with that. But they could also choose to perceive that their mom is showing up for them, that their dad is showing up for them, that they're going to have probably an even more beautiful home than we already had because it's going to be brand new. And their friends, like the way their school and their friends showed up. I mean, I hope if there's something I'm going to try to just beat into their heads is, look how loved we are. Like, what if they get to go through life at the age of 10 and 11 truly understanding how loved they are? Yeah, their house burned down, but if you got to at that age know that, like, how would that change your life?
Wow. Um, Alexis, we're coming up on time, but I've got two more questions that I want to ask you. And so the first one is, thinking about being able to help someone and connect with somebody, if there's somebody listening who's going through their own fire, right? Maybe literal, maybe not, right? What would you want to say to them at this place and where you're at now? What would you want to say to that person going through it?
That's a good question, because and actually, there is a person that reached out to us that had a fire about a month after us. Um, you're like, honor your feelings, all of them. Don't try to hold them in. Don't try to fake it till you make it. There are going to be times where you're going to have to just keep moving forward because you don't have the capacity to feel all of the feelings in this moment. But as much as I sit here and talk about how much good I can see from this, it doesn't make it easy. But it is part of your journey. And what if it is happening for you? I think that in my healing journey, it's been extremely important to honor my feelings. And I would say that when things like this happen, it's really easy to push them down. They're going to come up. It's easier to feel them now when you have the space to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
And I'll say one more thing.
Yep.
And it's a roller coaster. I have quickly learned, like, don't think it's over. Like, oh my gosh, I'm finally through that. It'll be okay. This is a long journey. And that set me up for, probably me and Matt, some pretty big disappointments at times. And the fire, it's going to take longer than weeks or months. It's a journey, but you can do it.
Thank you, Alexis. Okay, last question I have for you, which is kind of a staple now on Known Through Connection. I want to ask you, Alexis, especially at this stage of life that you're in right now, when people connect with you, what do you hope stays with them? When they connect with you, what do you hope stays with them?
For me, like, I hope people feel seen. At this point in my life, there's a couple of things I'm really good at. I can see the greatness in others very easily, and I love to see it, and I love to help bring it out. But I also want to be able to create space for you to be real and to be able to show up as you are without judgment, and just know that your authenticity, you showing up authentically, whether that's good or bad or ugly or somewhere in between, like, I'm here for it. I love you just the way you are. And I don't think you're meant to be any other way.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Alexis. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for taking this time. I want to emphasize one of the things that's been impactful for myself and others in the community is somewhat from a distance through social media, seeing this happen to you and your family, and your family radiating this like grounded positivity. And I think what's important in this is, one, that is true. And it's also been hard. There's also been pain, right? And I think you're an example that both can coexist, and you can still choose to see love in the situation through God, through your family, through your community, through your friends, through the support structures that are in place. So thank you for walking us through a little bit of what the last few months here have been for you, and taking time to help us see the world through your eyes. Thank you for taking that time.
Hey, thanks for giving me the chance to share my story and take the time to connect with me.
Love it. Thank you, Alexis. This has been very good. Really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this conversation with Alexis Maust. Her story reminds us that even in seasons of loss, faith and community can carry us further than we imagine. If you'd like to hear more voices worth sitting with, follow Known Through Connection and subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also connect directly with Alexis through the links in the show notes. Until next time, may you find the connections that help you be truly known.